Hello and welcome to Real Opinions. I'm James.
I'm Harrison.
And today we're going to be talking about 10 Cloverfield Lane.
So this is the sort of follow-up to Cloverfield from, 2007, 2008? I can't remember. In the loosest sense of what a follow-up can be. We won't go too much into... It's a very difficult film to talk about because of spoilers and because the marketing campaign has already played everything quite close to its chest. But in the words of J.J. Abrams, it's a blood relative. I did the quote thing, you can't see that, but it's a blood relative to Cloverfield in the sense that it's more like a spiritual successor. So the story is that Mary Elizabeth Winstead, is Winstead, right?
Yeah, Winstead, yeah.
She is a girl who has just broken up with her boyfriend, is driving away and is in a car accident. She then wakes up in an underground bunker where John Goodman has sort of brought her, chained her up, and they're down there with another guy, and basically John Goodman says you can't go out because something has happened, and the whole central thing for most of the film is whether or not John Goodman's telling the truth, whether or not he's crazy, or whether or not what he says has happened has actually happened. And it's a psychological thriller?
Yeah, I'd say
basically,
that.
And then with a hint of something else. So it's not really anything like Cloverfield, which is obviously a big monster movie in found footage style. This isn't found footage. This is...
And a very popular film that's you would sort of expect. A lot of people going to see this film
thinking it's Cloverfield 2,
exactly.
Which it definitely isn't.
Yeah. We were saying that perhaps the same story world.
Yeah. There are hints. If you look on this is again obviously a spoiler thing, but if you look on IMDb trivia page afterwards, you can see that there are hints to it existing in the same world. So for the most part, as we said, it's a psychological thriller, and as a psychological thriller, it's very, very, very good.
Very good. Yeah. Very intense. Very scary.
Hitchcockian.
Very Hitchcockian. Yeah. We were discussing the fact that the film is a 12A, and I feel like it's definitely pushing the 12A. I would agree with that. There are parts that are legitimately, I won't refuse the word scary, but legitimately tense at least. I mean, the bunker is a sort of literal kind of melting pot for all these things, and it really sort of brings into focus the quality of the script.
Yes, it is a well-written film. I mean, Damien Chazelle worked on it. Then there's a few other people that don't necessarily write it, but that have probably had story input. People like Drew Goddard, who did The Martian and things. People like J.J. Abrams, obviously, who have had some degree of influence. And it does mean that you get a lot of people who are very good and who have very good ideas putting this thing together. And it's very smart. Yeah. I was saying this to you that I liked that the characters were intelligent because it meant that I didn't know what was going to happen a lot of the time because they were more intelligent than me, and I was like, "Oh, that's what you're doing. That's clever."
Yeah, and they're always a step ahead of you.
Yeah, and it meant that I was genuinely trying to guess what was going to happen and I didn't get it right for the most part.
Talking sort of about the script and how well written it is, but the actual acting, the delivery of that is really brilliant.
It might be the best I've seen John Goodman, but I'm trying to think if I'm missing something obvious. Can you think of anything where John Goodman might have been better?
No, because I think he is normally a very kind of typecast character, whereas in this, his role is not bound by his physical mass.
He's a very weird character because on one hand you kind of are thinking maybe he's right, maybe he's the only logical person here, but then at the other times he seems very unstable, but he never feels cartoonish. He never feels like I'm crazy and weird. And
there's one instance where we felt like he went over.
Starts yelling.
It's a bit over the
top. But for the most part, he feels very much like a real, possibly crazy person, and it makes you feel very uneasy.
Yeah.
And you are trying to second guess him, and you can't quite do that. Then there's Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who is also good.
Yeah, she's good.
She's good.
She was a sort of a strong female lead. We were saying, she was like a sort of smart, intuitive
I like that because it means that you like her more because you're not like thinking you're an idiot, you could have done this, and you sort of like because she seems to have some degree of intelligence. It means that you can root for her easily. And then there's the other guy, whose name I've forgotten.
His name is Emmett in the film.
But as an actor, I can't remember his name. And he's also good. Yeah. He's the weakest of the three, not through acting, but because his character is the least heavily involved of the three. Yeah. But he does a good job with what he's given. The directing's very good. It's we made that Hitchcock comparison earlier, and that's because it's very well. It does a very good job at like making it suspenseful
in a limited setting.
Yeah, it does a very good job of making the most out of its limited setting with like the camera. And with the way that, it does that thing where sometimes you'll know more than certain characters, but you know things that other characters don't know, and it always uses that to a very good suspenseful effect.
And talking about that space itself, like the set design, I thought was really good.
Yeah, well, when you don't have that much, when you only have one set to design, you want to do it well.
But it did feel like a place that was not only lived in, but that had kind of been weathered somewhat.
The other sort of technical things, the music's very good, very, very suspenseful. I thought for a while that it was Michael Giacchino, because he did the first film, and he does a lot of J.J. Abrams things, and it sounds a little bit like Michael Giacchino music, and obviously I really like Michael Giacchino. I think he's one of the best new composers. Yeah. It's not Michael Giacchino, it's Bear McCreary, who does The Walking Dead. Like, right from the beginning, because it's the first thing you hear, you're like, oh, this is very moody. So it's really good music. It's good on almost every technical level, actually, isn't it?
It's well shot, and it's one thing that I didn't like so much with the film, where it could have been slightly stronger, is it is quite humorless. And I had more of an expectation, especially knowing that it's a sort of J.J. Abrams produced film. I think I maybe expected it to be a bit more family friendly in a sense, and that's why it's surprising. Exactly, and that's why it does surprise me that it's a 12A, because it is very dark throughout.
So it feels like there's just no room to laugh because you're just constantly waiting for something to happen. Yeah. There are a couple of moments of humour, but they're not like laugh out loud hysterical. They're just kind of like, huh? So the main thing that obviously we're kind of skirting around here is the plot and the nature of where it goes towards the end. Because for the most part, it's very mysterious. You never really know what's happening. And then in the third act, there is a reveal.
A significant
reveal. Which
we
will not spoil. The nature of the reveal was sort of what I wanted it to be. Because I turned to you before the film started and went, I hope that
is in the film.
And then does happen. It felt a little rushed, in that this reveal changes almost basically changes everything.
He changes the whole film.
Changes the whole film, and then it only goes on for like 5 or 10 minutes after that, and I felt like maybe it could have gone on a bit longer, because as it is, it feels almost tacked on. Just like, and then this happens, and then the film ends. Yeah. Once you've seen it, you'll probably understand what I mean. Yes. Even if you don't agree, you'll kind of know what I'm trying to say, but I'm deliberately not saying.
I feel like this is our most ambiguous review.
It's very ambiguous, but I'm actually kind of impressed with ourselves.
We've skirted around the issue quite well. Yeah. So, what about a rating?
Well, that's with this whole, like, you don't know what to expect, and then it's all shrouded in mystery, and then there's it also means that it's quite a hard film to decide what you think of the first time. At the moment, I'm going to optimistically hazard an 8, and assume that I will continue to think it's very good upon rewatching it. So at the moment, I'm going to give it an 8, but that may be subject to change.
Well, I agree with the 8 out of 10 there. I was tempted by a 9, wasn't I?
Really?
That's
good coming from you.
Because I just thought it was a very good, intense psychological thriller.
And I like definitely that.
It's like among the best psychological thrillers I think I've seen in
quite
a long time.
I agree with that. I think if I was to sort of summarise like what I would say, I think if you took away the Cloverfield name, I might have also gone for a 9. Yeah. But with the Cloverfield name, I kind of feel like, but is it really that much of a blood relative to Cloverfield? Yeah. So, and on its own, it is definitely a very, very good thriller.
And for me, that final act maybe wasn't exactly what I wanted from it. Even though I didn't hate that by any means, which is why I think it is an 8 out of 10 for me.